Stephanie White's admiration for Caitlin Clark hit an entirely new level when she shared her thoughts in what can only be described as a moment of pure basketball awe. This wasn't your run-of-the-mill praise, it was something larger, with White practically throwing her hands up and saying, "What can you even say about this kid?" It was clear to everyone listening that this praise wasn't just about a great performance or an impressive season. No, this was something much bigger. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. White has been around the block in basketball. She's seen talent come and go, watched players rise and fall. But for her, Caitlin Clark isn't just another player with skills. She's something of a phenom, someone who bends the game into a shape that suits her. White's words revealed a genuine belief that Clark's impact was seismic, the kind that doesn't just add to the sport but transforms it. From her deadly shooting range to her laser-sharp court vision, White seemed almost bemused by how Clark could pull off these feats, as if she was witnessing a basketball marvel unfold in real time. There was a sense that she herself, despite all her experience, was learning something new about the game just by watching Clark play. In the heart of her admiration, White honed in on something that set Clark apart from other players. It's not just her shooting, though her three-point range is jaw-dropping. It's not just her passing, though she could probably thread a needle from across the court. It's her sheer audacity, her refusal to play small or blend into the game's expected rhythms. Clark's approach is bold, almost bordering on cheeky, with a confidence that borders on defiance. And this is precisely what White was pointing to. Clark doesn't hesitate, she doesn't back down, and that willingness to take risks is what makes her shine. White found this refreshing, almost exhilarating, as she described Clark's ability to break down defenses with a mixture of aggression and intelligence that makes you sit up and take notice. As White described Clark's game, it was evident that she was struck by how Clark has almost a sixth sense on the court, knowing where her teammates and opponents are without looking. White used words that conveyed an almost magical quality to Clark's court vision. It wasn't about memorized plays or predictable patterns. It was about instincts and reactions that can't easily be taught. There's a rhythm to the way Clark moves that feels more like jazz than anything formulaic. White didn't just admire this. She seemed genuinely captivated by it. Clark's sense of timing on the court also came up in White's praise, and rightfully so. Watching Clark, one gets the sense that she isn't just playing in the moment. She's a few steps ahead, pulling off moves that leave defenders scrambling to catch up. White pointed this out with a tone of almost amused disbelief, describing how Clark has this uncanny knack for timing that feels borderline spooky. When most players might hesitate or pass, Clark dives in, grabbing the opportunity with both hands and often leaving her opponents stunned. This timing isn't something Clark stumbled upon by chance, it's refined, something she's honed over countless hours. White seemed in awe of how Clark's timing alone sets her apart, letting her exploit the tiniest gaps in defenses. White's praise didn't stop at Clark's skill, though. She dug deeper, touching on the attitude Clark brings to every game. Clark isn't just playing to win. She's playing with a kind of grit and fire that's hard to ignore. There's no coasting, no playing it safe. White marveled at how Clark's energy could change the mood of an entire team or even an entire arena. Clark doesn't just play with a chip on her shoulder. She plays as if she's got the whole lumberyard up there, and it's that relentless drive that White found particularly compelling. In her mind, Clark's game isn't just about winning. It's about pushing boundaries and setting new standards. And this mindset, White suggested, could make Clark a role model not only for young athletes, but for anyone who's been told to dial it down or stay within their limits. This isn't to say Clark's game is flawless. White didn't shy away from acknowledging that Clark has room to grow, but the coach's tone made it clear that she saw these imperfections as part of the journey. Clark's game, for all its brilliance, still holds untapped potential, and White seemed genuinely excited about where Clark could go from here. There was a sense that in White's eyes, the sky wasn't the limit for Clark. It was merely the starting point. White's words hinted at a long career ahead for Clark, one that could redefine what's possible in basketball. In fact, White seemed almost playful in her amazement at Clark's courage to take on impossible shots. Imagine watching someone from half-court, hoisting the ball with the kind of nonchalance most people reserve for a layup. White's expression might as well have said, "Is she serious?" But with Clark, it's all very serious. There's a confidence and belief in her own abilities that lets her make the impossible seem ordinary. White pointed out that Clark doesn't just attempt these shots, she makes them. And it's not luck, it's skill mixed with audacity, a mix that has White watching with the same nervous anticipation as the fans. White's admiration went beyond Clark's individual talent and extended to her role as a leader on the court. Clark's teammates don't just follow her, they rally around her, energized by her confidence and vision. White was quick to highlight this aspect, pointing out how Clark's presence alone can lift a team. She isn't just someone who scores, she's someone who brings people together, and the quality is rare. White seemed to suggest that this level of influence is what separates a good player from a great one, and in her view, Clark was already heading into the territory of greatness. There was also something deeply personal in White's words, as though Clark's fearless approach struck a chord with her own memories of playing. White knows what it's like to take the court with everything to prove, and in Clark, she sees a similar spirit. Clark's drive reminded White of her own journey through the sport, the hustle, the sweat, and the constant push to improve. You could feel a connection between them, a shared understanding that only those who've lived and breathed basketball can fully grasp. White seemed to speak not just as a coach, but as someone who had walked a similar path and now saw Clark blazing her own trail, fueled by the same fire. One of the most fascinating things White touched on was how Clark's influence goes beyond her own team. Clark's style has a ripple effect, inspiring players across leagues and even different levels of basketball. White observed that Clark's game has that rare quality of being both aspirational and accessible. Young players see her shoot from the logo, and suddenly they're practicing those shots in their driveway. This influence is unique. Clark isn't just raising her own profile. She's lifting the game itself, encouraging others to play with that same daring approach. White seemed thrilled by this idea, almost amused by the thought of a generation of young players trying to shoot from half court just because Clark did it. It's rare to see an established figure like Stephanie White speak with such unreserved admiration, but with Clark, it felt genuine and grounded. White wasn't showering her with hollow praise. She was simply calling it as she saw it, and that honesty made her words all the more powerful. White wasn't just seeing the present moment. She was looking ahead to the future Clark might shape. You could tell that White, a veteran of the sport herself, saw in Clark not only talent but a promise of change, a shift in the way the game might be played. Her praise was like a stamp of approval, a way of saying, "Keep going, the game needs this." In Clark, White saw a player who seemed to be pushing the game forward with every move. Her style, her spirit, and her skills are shaping something new, and White seemed both impressed and entertained by that. There's a joy in watching someone break the mold, and for White, Clark represented that kind of joy. With each word, it was clear that White wasn't just praising a player. She was celebrating a force that could influence the future of basketball. For White, Clark was a reminder of why people fall in love with the game in the first place: the unpredictability, the audacity, and the thrill of witnessing something extraordinary. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.